Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great morning. I got an early start this morning. I have to take my husband up to Columbia to the doctor's. He has a monthly doctor's visit with his disability, but I needed to go ahead and get a jump start on my day before I took him. So I got up, got my shower. Yeah, I know I look kind of... It's early. My hair's not even dry. I've already done my greenhouse. Got all my plants tended to out on the porch. So I figured I would come on here and show y'all, sorry I get excited, of all the things I've gotten done. Right now it's a little... it's a little more, okay, so there's a market, a local market here that's a startup, it's just now starting a farmer's market. And I wanted to try to get some stuff made up to be a vendor in that market. So, of course, I had to do my egg aprons, right? I'd already had those made. I finished up my red one. Let me... hold on one second. I know you can't see me, or you might be able to see the edge of me, but I have it hooked to the rack behind the camera. But this is my red one that I did. And normally I would have eggs or plastic eggs or something in the pockets to keep them all fluffy, but for the moment those eggs are in the other aprons because I have two other ones. But what better for a farmer's market than an egg apron, right? I'll link that down in the comments below. It was in one of the first videos, I do believe, but if you haven't watched those, you can either watch those and see the other ones that I made. But I will link the description. I will link the pattern and all that I got that from in the comments below. I mean, it's funny because my channel is daybreak because, I'm always up at daybreak. And that's when I get going really good. This morning, not as much. Okay. I'm mostly, but... Anyway, so with that market in mind, I have my typical, my knit hand towels that I've shown y'all, my crocheted hot pads, things like that, my baby blankets, my throws, and egg aprons, and I have some amigurumi, but I only have a couple of those. Most of those that I've made, I've given away, or I've made specifically for someone. But I do have a bunny. It's in my wardrobe behind the camera, so I can't get it out right this moment. But I will make a note making a note. Get that rabbit out for the next video. So I've been busy, but it's small stuff. I like the idea of hitting different price points at a market, right? So I have the blankets. Let's see. I have throws, afghans. Then I have baby blankets, and then I have car seat blankets. The smaller ones that are very light and can put over the carrier or the car seat after the baby's already, buckled up. So I have those. And then I wanted something that was on the lower end and even, handheld stuff that was relatively in $5 or $10 range. So with that in mind, Plus, oh, excuse me. Plus, you know, when you think about a market, you think about bags, right? You know, most people who do go to farmers markets carry their own bags. Some don't think about it, and, you know, you have to give them a bag. But I did one of these. This is called the GRRLFriend bag. And it is knit. It is, now I made this one right here with 2 sugar and creams. This is Ahoy. The color is Ahoy. This one, I can see the ball, but I can't. It's not, I didn't write it down. I wrote that it was sugar and cream yarn, but it's a green that matches the Ahoy. But anyway, you start on double pointed needles and you make the bottom. And then you basically do yarn overs to make the holy part of the pattern. Now, I will tell you, that one is made by, that was designed by Laura Spradlin, and I think it's cute. The story behind the GRRLFriend bag was cute too, so if you'll go to the link that I have posted below, you can read up on it and get the pattern. Now, I made one of these for my best friend up in Kansas. I made one of these for Tina, and that was me experimenting with the pattern. And I made that one out of acrylic. Now, this is cotton. You know, this is 100% cotton. But I made that one out of acrylic, and it really didn't stretch a lot. So I thought that's why, because it was with the acrylic. But I'm sitting here and I'm stretching this puppy. I mean, I'm steadily stretching. So I think what I'm going to do in making this a third time, I'm going to add more when I do my base with my double pointed needles. I'm just going to make it, because what you end up with is 100 stitches around after you convert to circular needles. So I think what I want to do is have maybe 10 to 15 extra stitches per DPN, per needle. So that, you know, because I think 100 stitches, this isn't a very big bag. And when you think of a market, you think big, which leads me into, oh, and that pattern of Laura's, the GRRLFriend bag, that is a free pattern on Ravelry. So I'll link that below. So keeping that in mind, I thought, you know, oh, and that took a minute. But we all know knitting takes longer than crochet. That's just a fact. I love both. You know, I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm a crocheter that knits, or I'm a knitter that crochets, and I have, you know, knitting is my love, or crochet is my love. I love them both. And they each have a place with me, because with knit, I love knit for garments. And I don't mind spending the time that it takes to do a garment. Unless I'm doing one for my niece, and, you know, she's like this big, so it doesn't take hardly any time at all for her stuff. But I made myself a shirt when I was back at my job, and that one took, well, actually, I mean, it took a while, but since I was working on it so much at work to keep myself from showing up my coworkers, it didn't take me near as long as I thought it would. But now I made that one really oversized because I was heavier than I wanted to be. And I wanted it to fit loosely. Well, it didn't fit as loosely as I liked. So I bound off the bottom, and I didn't weave in the ends. I haven't worn it because I was not happy with my body, so I wasn't going to be happy with the shirt. Now, I have lost weight, and I do, thankfully. My knees are thanking me every day. But I might revisit trying it back on, and I've lost enough weight that I might have to rip it out or rip some of it out up to the breast or the chest at least, and redo the bottom because it might be a little too big. Now, I like my shirts roomy. I always have. Most of my life I spent at 130 pounds, and I'm tall enough to where it shows that I'm thin, but with larger breasts, I like big baggy shirts because I don't like to bring attention to said endowments. But anyway, off track. So crochet has a place with me because I can A, whip things up very quickly. B, there's a lot of things in my life that for household stuff that I use it for, like my wash rags, and I used to do crocheted bath rags, but now I only make them mainly for children or anybody that is pre-puberty, because the idea of getting hairs stuck in the rags, just no. No. So either A, I make them for young children or babies, and I also make dish rags. Now, in my dish rags, I make how those little, I don't buy them, so I'm not really, it's a sponge on one side and then a scrubby on the other. They're yellow and green usually, but you know how it's about the size of your palm, right? Well, it's a perfect size. So I thought, when I started making my dish rags years ago, I was like, why have all this extra rag when I don't need it? So I started making my dish rags, little rectangles, and I don't have one with me, but, well, let's see, with my foam, they're not quite as long as my foam, and they're a little bit wider, but I mean, you get the idea. It's just something that you can hold comfortably in your hand and scrub your dishes and and then with the scrubby fabric, I knit those to make my scrubbers. But same premise, I do a rectangle. Just something that I can hold in my hand very comfortably. And so it's the crocheted, those are the crocheted, and then I do my hot pads, of course, and my hot pads. See, my hot pads, my little flower hot pads. And then pot holders. That's the word I was looking for. Jeezy Pete. That was hard. That was like pulling teeth. And then, of course, the blankets and the Afghans and whatnot. But I like to knit hats. I like the look of a knitted hat. I've done crocheted hat. I used to do a lot of crocheted hats for charity, for donating to the hospital. But since COVID happened, that stopped. So I haven't really made any more of those. But anyway, going back to that, I had the knitted version of the bag, right? So I said, I want something a little bigger. So I went on the hunt. And I have made crocheted bags before. But I wanted something bigger than what I've had. So that's when I found this crocheted market bag. This was done, this is a pattern by Jessica at By Hand London. I'll link that down in the description too. But this is what you think when you think a market bag. It is, all right, I'm going to put the handles in the back. But this is a nice big bag, right? You can fit a lot of markets. You know, you can fit a lot of produce in that or whatnot. And I like the sheer size of it. I mean, it is huge. Now, this has a solid bottom as well. And I like that because you give the bag such stability when you have a solid bottom. Now, I went straight by the pattern. The very first time I do a pattern, I like to follow it as the designer intended. So I can find out if that suits my preferences or whatnot. Now, I do think that I might make this bottom a little bigger. Because it's a great structure foundation for the bottom of this bag, and I love that. But I do think I might, may take it one or two more rounds, because when you think about it, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, in proportion to the bag, I think I would make it a couple more rounds. But this one is made by with the sugar and cream as well. Now, the brown is just plain brown on the cone. And this one is the cone chocolate ombre. And I love just the visual difference and the look of it. Because it just gives it some interest, It's not just a plain Jane market bag. Now, I will, maybe not for this market, but I'm thinking that I might do some in the same way, in the same design, in solid colors. Because not everybody, not everybody likes all the color. And I get it. So, sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyway, so I made those market bags, and I thought, okay, now this is where I came into thinking, I want some smaller price points. Well, I was frying some chicken up the other night, and like I told y'all, I don't, on the homesteading side, on those videos, I don't fry a lot. I like to do shake and bake a lot. I do bake or grill or, I like fried foods, but it's in moderation. But anyway, the other day I was frying up some chicken in my cast iron pan, and I didn't think about it. I went to move my pan, and I was, burnt the PGBs out of my hand. So I was like, nope, we got to do something about that. And so I grabbed a pot holder and was holding it and everything. Well, then when I was thinking about small things for the market, I said, why don't I just crochet up some handle covers, for my cast iron? So that's when I did these lovely little babies. Now, I have them in a variety of different colors. And this is all sugar and cream yarn. Now, I didn't follow a pattern on these. These are just, these and the next thing I show you, I just made. Man, when I first started crocheting, I couldn't read a pattern to save my life. I was used to knit patterns because I started knitting first. Way before, I'd started knitting and crocheting before YouTube ever became a thing. So I didn't have easily access to tutorials and whatnot. I did have the internet. Like 97, 98, 96, somewhere in there. It was right before the boys were born, so they were born in 98. Yeah, so 96 or 97, I believe. But anyway, we had just gotten our first compact computer. It was one of them all-in-one deals. And when I say all-in-one back then, it's not like the all-in-ones now. This was a big, tall unit. Yeah, it was basically the screen on top of the tower, which back then we didn't have flat screens. So it was about as far back. It was about as deep as it was tall. But I love my little compact, my little first compact. But anyway, I digress. So I started knitting first. And when a couple years later, I can't remember why I think I know what it was. My sister-in-law, my oldest brother, he lived up in Alaska. He met his wife, and they stayed up in Alaska for years. But back then, I think they had been married maybe 3 or 4 years by the time I got pregnant. And she had crocheted these beautiful little rainbow baby blankets for my twin boys. And I thought they were just so beautiful, you know. And I was like, I want to learn to do that too. Knitting wasn't enough, you know. I needed to learn. But as you'll see here in a minute, and I told y'all in my introductory video that my crafting interests are very varied. I like to do a lot of different crafts. So learning something new is nothing for me. I see something that interests me and I jump into it. Now, I will say a side note to that, kind of a caveat. So I watched Jennifer at Cinnamon Stitches, and I noticed she had started spinning a little while back, and I'm like, oh, nope. I'm going to leave her to that. I already do. Now, I think spinning is awesome. I think that controlling the kind of yarn that you work with and the colorways that you personally want, you can let your creativity fly. And I think that's great. I just don't need a new hobby right now. So, I have tried to curb that creativity, that yearning for learning new things just a tad. Just a tad. Like acrylic pour painting. Oh, that is so awesome. I shouldn't have started learning that either. But anyway, we're gonna go back to the yarn. I told y'all I talk a lot. So these little guys, I wrote down what I did. Now let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, so on these, hold on. That was my daughter-in-law. I want to make sure nothing's wrong with my grandson, because normally she doesn't text me this early in the morning. Okay, sorry about that. No emergency. Just plans for my grandson's 4th birthday. But, so she must be up early thinking and you know, planning. But anyway, so, with these, now, I held 2 strands together. Let me see. You can kind of see it, like, in this one right here. Must have been something in this. Oh, I got this cute little bin from the Dollar Tree, or $1.25. But I thought that was a cute little display. But anyway, I held 2 strands throughout. Now, when I made this, I'll go ahead and tell you how I made it. I may write the instructions down I'll put the instructions down in the video. Oh, shoot. In the description below. Because, I mean, I write things out as I do things, you know, that's what I was trying to do before I got on that lost tangent, is before I started really getting into crochet, I just started making my own type patterns. I didn't know how to read crochet patterns when I first started. It only took me about a month or 2 to kind of get into the habit of reading patterns, but at the beginning I didn't know. So I just started I'd try something and I'd write down what I did. Longhand, because I didn't, the abbreviations I didn't know quite yet. But anyway, so on these, I did a magic ring. And I think I did, hold on, let me just read it out to myself here. Okay, so I did 12 single crochets in a magic ring. Now, when I did my magic ring, I did not do 2 strands. I made my magic ring with 1 strand. And then as I started, when I chained 1 in that magic circle and did my 12 single crochets, that's when I held the 2 strands together. But the very tip of it, I didn't on the magic ring. And I wasn't going to fiddle. I wasn't going to try a magic ring and tightening it up with 2 strands. But you want 2 strands held together so that it's thick enough to where it doesn't let the heat through to your hand. And then, so I did magic ring, 12, chain 1, 12 single crochets, and then I slip stitched into that chain 1, chained 1 again, and did 12 single crochets in the previous 12 singles. And then basically I just did a spiral up until I got to the length I wanted. And I think these are like 5.5. I mean, it's a good, it's a good handle size. You can pretty much, and I have big hands for a girl, so you can do it as long as you want. Just make sure it fits your cast iron pan handle. But I made a few of those in different colors, so that I could sell these, for relatively inexpensive. Oh, and when I got to the top of that, sorry. When I got to the top, I slip stitched a few stitches and then wove it. I broke the yarn and fastened off. But the slip stitches, and I didn't do it that well in that one because I see the little nub. But usually slip stitches kind of lets you go in and you don't have an abrupt stop. All right. And then the other one I made, I got this little basket from the Dollar Tree too. I thought it was cute. I didn't even take the tag off yet, but it was just a little woven basket. Now these little guys, I have, you can see I have a wide variety of colors, But these are little ice pop holders. So, you can, I call them hand savers because there's nothing worse than holding on to an ice pop while the baby's eating them or the child's eating them and freezing your hands off. Or if they're old enough to hold their own, you don't want them freezing their little hands. And it's just a little slip-through ring, made this. Which this I had made when my grandson was, I've made this about a year. He's had it for 2 summers. So he was about a year old. No, maybe a year and a half. Because I wouldn't have gave it to him at a year old. And he's a May baby. So being a May baby. Yeah, so it might have been the end of the summer when he was 1. So it might have been like a year and 2 months, year and 3 months. But anyway, I would hold them for him. I think it was about then because it really helped with his teething. It really helped his gums. So anyway, I made it back then. So that I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to make some of those. I could sell these $3 or 2 for $5 or whatever. Because you have to price depending on where you're at. And I am in South Carolina. And a small little bitty town, the one that is 20 minutes away that I was telling y'all about. I have one that's 30 minutes away and one that's 20 minutes away. Well, the one 20 minutes away that doesn't have the hose, the Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that. It's a very small town. I mean, very rural, small town. And I know that I have to do my price points according to what I know I can get out of them versus what will sell in that little town. And this is a new market, so we don't know the buying habits right now of that area. So I thought, okay, you know, I'll do that. So these little guys, I did chain 20, actually 21, because I wanted it 20 around. So I chained 21 and slip stitched to join the round, and I chained one up and then did a spiral similar to the cast iron pan holders. I just spiraled up and then did the slip stitch. Now these I did, I think 3 inches, maybe 2.5, 3 inches. I did some a little longer and some, you know, normal, trying to give children of different hand sizes a good grip. But I really enjoyed this. And this is, of course, the sugar and cream cone yarn that I have, that I made all my hand towels and pot holders and whatnot. But I figured, you know, this would give me another smaller price point. Now, that's all that I got done so far. I will tell you, I'm working on something because I needed a break from the market stuff, right? And I seen a pattern. I have lots of patterns stored in Pinterest, on Ravelry. Some are direct patterns. Some are pictures for inspiration. It's all over the place. So on this one, in my Pinterest, I have crochet must do, and then I have knit must do, and then I have miscellaneous crafts. So this one was in my crochet must do. And I will link it down below, and then when I finish it and get it all put together, I will show y'all as a finished make. But this is a pattern by Moogly. And I know her name. It's not coming to me right now. I know her name just as well as I know my own. But can't think of it at the moment. So these little squares, aren't those beautiful? I just love these spring colors. They speak to me so much. Now, these are the only colors that I've gotten going so far. Now, you have to do a certain amount of each one. But I'll show you a little bit closer. Now, this is missing the very final 2 rounds, I believe. That will be in gray, and that will be the same color that I used to join all the squares. But this is a Moogly blanket. And I'm going to try to, because this one has ads and stuff. But I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to keep it back here because I'm not 100% sure on the focusing. But it is a magic rainbow baby blanket. Now I'm going to see if I can't get a little bit better picture of that. And see, that's a picture of the squares before they're joined. But the premise is the center of each flower is, hang tight. Let me get them back out of my little project bag here. Which I love this little project bag. It's like a little medium-sized bag. I got that puppy off Temu. But, so what I'm going to show you is All right. So this is the very last color down at the bottom in the purple. So every center is the previous color's outside. Okay. So this center, this is a red outside. So the next center is red. This is orange outside. So the center of the yellow is orange. The outside is yellow. So the inside of the next one is yellow. The outside is green, and I just started this last night, so that one's going to be green. Or chartreuse. I didn't have chartreuse. These are, and the reason I keep picking up the green with the center is because it's the last square I had done, but I used my Hobie yarn. I'll link it down below too. But I'll link the pattern and the yarn that I'm using. But this is the Hobie Friends Cotton 8/8, and this is just light and perfect for that. And I am using my Clover 4.5 millimeter hook. Oh, and on those, sorry, I know I'm all over the place. I didn't notate it on my notes, so I didn't think about it, but I do need to put it in my notes where I made those two things. The 2 strands throughout, I did a 6 millimeter hook, and that's just a 4-weight cotton, but I was holding 2 strands together. And then the Ice Pop hand savers, I did the Clover 4.5 millimeter. Just so that, you know, I could get some good tight stitches. Now, 4.5 millimeter on this is more of a DK weight. I grabbed the center piece for the next flower, but the 4-weight, try that again. The 4.5 millimeter makes a little bit bigger stitches with the DK weight, and I like that. I mean, because it's going to be flexible without being too drapey, but it gets it enough to where it keeps it light, so it doesn't make it a real dense fabric. Now, because I could have went down in probably to a 3.5 millimeter, but I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want tight stitches and make it really super dense and stiff. Not for a baby anyway. But anyway, I need to get going because I have got to still do a few things before I wake my husband up and get him up for his doctor's appointment. But I just wanted to come on here before I, you know, I got moving in the day and had to, because on his doctor visit days, it's an all-day thing, because, you know, we don't live near Columbia. Well, we do, but it's still 45, 50 minutes to get up there, and that's with my speed driving. And, you know, we're up there, and then he wants to, you know, usually go by Walmart and get any groceries or anything. And sometimes I do want to go by Joann's. We don't have a Joann's here. We have one over in Augusta, Georgia. But, you know, that's still a minute away from me. And I don't make a habit of going over there. But if I'm going up to Columbia, it's what's another 10 minutes to the Joann's up there. Now, they have a bigger Joann's in, I think, North Columbia. But in West Columbia, they have a smaller one. And if I'm doing like an online pickup order, I'll do the West Columbia one because I'll know if they have it or not. I don't like to go there on the whim because usually it's such a small store and it's not very super big stocked. But I have swung in there just like, you know, on the off chance they might have what I'm looking for. Most times, you know, they don't have it. And so now I try to go on my app and see, you know, what they have going on and what they may have in stock before I go. But anyway, I have rambled enough today. I hope you enjoyed me catching you up on what I've made. There's some really good patterns. But I will say that that little square pattern for that rainbow baby blanket from Moogly, I really like that because in the summertime, being in South Carolina, I try not to do anything overly big. Now, that I could do when it's 110 out, you know. Like I think last summer it did hit 110. It was so bad. It was so bad. But see, we're just now into May, so it's not it's not that bad yet. But usually I do small things. Like I always have a in the summertime I knit my hand towels, and I have to get, note to self, I have got to get my Etsy shop up and running. I need to take photos. I was wanting to wait till my greenhouse got a little, you know, greened out, which now is perfect because everything's getting so beautiful and green in there, that I wanted to use those as a lot of that greenery as my backdrop for my photos. So now would be a good time to get going in that. But usually it's hand towels that I knit, or hot pads at Crochet, and or, you know, I guess they changed their mind. Usually when my phone does that, that means it's a spam call. But, or it's a computer generated call. But anyway, so I lost my train of thought. Oh, I like to do small handheld projects, nothing that's going to lay on my lap because it just gets too hot. So that Moogly blanket is perfect. And, you know, on these trips that I had to take my husband up to the doctor, you know, I may go in with him and talk to the doctors, but I still have to have something to do with my hands, you know. It's because with the meds that he's on, you know, we've always made a joke. He became disabled in 2008. And with the medications they've had him on all these years, I'm his brain, is what we call me. So I have to go to his doctor's appointments to, you know, either A, help him remember what we talked about, or details, you know, nothing. The broad strokes he's got, but it's kind of like having a secondary brain to help you remember. And during COVID, that was so hard because I didn't find out until COVID hit that I have a problem covering my face. I couldn't wear a mask. It sent me into a total panic attack to where I would hyperventilate and pass out. So COVID was hard for me because I didn't get to do a lot of things. When everything opened back up, you know, people were, you know, being able to be socializing and stuff. I didn't get to do that because I couldn't be in social situations like that because I couldn't wear a mask. This has nothing to do with what you feel like, your beliefs with pro-mask or anti-mask or anything like that. I just couldn't. And so when COVID was happening, we would do, when COVID first hit, we were doing tele visits with his doctor anyway. So, but when they started relaxing it a little bit and the patients were allowed to come back to the office, they did, you know, you were required to wear a mask and I couldn't. So I would be out in the car because, you know, I had to take him, but I would be out in the car and he would be video, you know, we would be on video chat so I could talk to the doctor and whatnot. And so since it's opened back up, I go back again, and I'm still knitting and crocheting, you know, something to keep my hands busy. And those little small projects are great to take for that. All these little small things that I do. And I leave the blankets for home and winter time. But I really enjoy this little Moogly blanket because I don't mind squares. Obviously, because, you know, unless I do 10,000 of the same pattern. But anyway, I'm rambling. This video has gone on long enough, and I appreciate you if you have made it to the end of this one. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe. I'm a very new channel, and I'm trying to get this up and off the ground. Just sharing my love of all the different crafts that I like to do, and my, you know, my homesteading side too. But I try to keep them separate so that those of you who only want yarn or fiber content or crafting content, you have that choice. Or if you want homesteading stuff, you know. And if I have some crossovers, even better. But I hope you have a wonderful day today. And, you know, it's really foggy out there right now, but I'm hoping as the morning, you know, as it gets later, it might burn off, because I don't want to drive all the way to Columbia in the fog. But if it does, it does. I'll push through it. Y'all have a great afternoon, great morning, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.